but early on it wasn't possible because the technology hadn't been developed that way. Jose Delgado, Yale neurophysicist, neuroscientist, was the guy that started putting implants in monkeys' brains and bulls' brains and stuff like that. And, you know, he was the one who started getting the implants going so that then this voice-to-skull or actual motor control capability would be able to manifest. But during all that, they found out many other things. It's like one of the people that I talked to about this locally, very, very nice and very smart lady who was a trained nurse and was a nurse all her life, said, you know, I know my mind too well. I don't care if they could put words in my mind. I don't care what they could do. They could never make me think the way they want me to think. And I said, you know, I understand what you're saying. You know, I know that you're aware of fascism and that you despise it as I do and such. But that's not really what they're after. They would love to be able to do that. They would love to be able to create robots. And who knows, in the future, everyone might be born and be chipped on the table they're born on, you know, if we don't put a stop to this. And I'm sure they would love to be able to do that. But they can cause predictable behavior without saying, Gina, go out the door and, you know, walk in the middle of the street or whatever. They can do things to create pain and disease. And now they have nanotechnology and they have biotechnology, and in conjunction with it, the broadcast electronics, which is very well developed everywhere now under the cover of cell phones and other broadcast technologies. They can create pain, and they can target you via implants or via hotspots. And as far as implants are concerned, I'm talking also not just the things they would put in you mechanically, but the bioaccumulations that we addressed earlier by your radio signature. They can target you very easily, very aggressively, and very accurately, so that they can CAT scan you from a mile away, you know, if you can believe that. And that's very conservative. I'm trying not to get too crazy here because it's going to be hard enough for some people to believe this.
Believe it or not, I get a lot of emails, and a lot of people are very interested in this, really opening up to it. So,
yeah,
you know, any information you have great information. It's very helpful. Thank you for sharing it. Please continue. It's very interesting.
Well, they can target you very well. One of the main places they like to target you is the head, and that was where the dental implants come in partially. Also, they can hear everything you say if it's that type of an implant. And those are very easy to put in fillings. And they can even hear sub-vocalizations, which most people don't understand, but before you say something, a lot of times you'll sub-vocalize it, or when you're just thinking, you'll sub-vocalize things, and that's why a lot of people believe that these are telepathy machines and things like that. They don't realize they have a dental implant, and they're sub-vocalizing, and the operator that's monitoring them is actually hearing their thoughts that they don't even know that they're vocalizing. So it's all just part of a reflexive larynx and things like that. But they know all of this. They've spent billions and billions of dollars. I spent 3 or 4 years in Huntsville, Alabama, and that's where a lot of the paperclip scientists went. They were ostensibly rocket scientists, but come to find out when you study their names and you study what they actually did over there, not a lot of them were rocket scientists. A lot of them were studying mind control techniques that were being perpetrated in the prison camps. Now, they picked Huntsville, Alabama to propagate from, because it's kind of like the buckle of the Bible Belt there. And they've considered fundamental Christianity. I don't mean, you know, regular Christianity, the people who study the Bible and things like that applied to daily life and the wisdom that's involved in all that now, or the study of Joshua's life and all that. I don't mean, you know, your regular run. I mean the real hardcore fundamentalists that make use of, just like Hitler, make use of the show, okay, for lack of a better term. They get up and pound the podium, and they get the people all riled up. So the next thing you know, they're speaking in tongues and wiggling around on the floor. You know, and so those kind of people are very susceptible to being programmed just because that's their nature, and they exhibit that nature quite well. So Huntsville, Alabama, the buckle of the Bible Belt, you can see where it's seeped out of there as mind control throughout all of fundamental Christianity and in America. It's because the German paperclip scientists that were brought in here illegally perceived correctly that fundamental Christianity was a ready-made platform of mind control. Okay, and then you see this in other aspects of religion too, not just Christianity. Wherever it can get in and get a foothold, it does it. It's charismatic leadership. Somebody that, and we've at least in this present administration not been subjected to that. This is the only thing maybe that's saving us, that and the net, because he has about as much charisma as a cockroach. Okay, in my opinion, of course. And I want to say that too. None of this is written in stone. These are the things that I've studied on autodidactic polymath. I'm multi-faceted in my studies, and I just never stopped reading, and I constantly read. But I'm constantly learning, and I'm just trying to get as much of the good information out as possible, and I'm trying not to perpetuate lies. You know, I don't work for anybody. I'm not covering any other stories. I have no other agenda than truth, you know, because I believe that the only thing you can take from this world when you leave is what you learn. And if you're taking lies, then you'll go to the father of lies. If you take the truth, well, it's got to be better.
I agree.
It's got to be better than that.
I agree. Can I ask you a question? I'm going to ask you another question. I interviewed a man the other day by the name of James, and he's an organized stalking victim as well, and he's really brilliant, just like you. He interviewed on Project Bluebeam and the false rapture, and after the interview he mentioned to me that the chemtrails tie in with Project Bluebeam. Do you know anything about that?
Well, that's a very pertinent question, because once again, the chemtrailing, as far as I can see, and from my studies, indicates that it is definitely an energy technology. Now I'm going to go off here a little bit and mention something else. If I go away from Bluebeam, bring me back.
I will.
This is very important. A lot of people don't understand that right before Enron went belly up, they had what were called weather. They were selling weather derivatives. They had weather contracts. Okay, this meant that if they could go out and spray a cover, and they were doing this, a company on Boca Raton, Florida called Dynomat, they even were talking about the different constituents within what they were spraying. A lot of those were, I can't think of the name of them now, but they use them in plants, and when you pour water on them, it's dust, but when you pour water on them, it turns to jelly. A lot of that they were spraying. Now, what Enron was doing was they were involved with a lot of utility companies. And I think Enron was just a test to see if anyone would notice, and obviously no one did, because they were doing these experiments mostly in Florida under Jeb Bush's administration. And they had prepared the people prior to that by spraying for a medfly infestation, which was totally non-existent. So they started with the medfly spraying, nobody squawked. A few people did. Then they started with Dynomat, and they didn't even mention what that was all about, and that's where the chemtrailing in Florida started, but I didn't start taking pictures of it then. Enron was selling these weather derivatives to their stockholders as a profit-making deal. If they could go out and hire a company that would create a positive effect, which means warmer in the winter, cooler in the summer, that would save the utility companies a lot of money, because people would use their air conditioner or their heater less. So they had a mean, I think it was 65 degrees or 70 degrees. And the closer the environmental modification people could bring the local conditions around the city down towards 70 in the summer or up towards 70 in the winter, they got a piece of the action. And even the smallest contracts were worth